Hi, everyone. Just trying the technical aspect of this. If you're here, welcome. And we'll get started in a few minutes, but I just want to make sure that everything's working properly and that this will be received easily. If you are here and you can hear me, would you please give me a thumbs up in the comments? Thank you very much, Cameron. Cameron Troy, campaign manager for this campaign. Very grateful. Cameron Troy is coming to us from Franklin County, where he is chair of the Franklin County Democratic Committee, as well as a teacher at Waynesboro High School and a new father. So we're very glad to have him on the team. Thanks, Cameron. Thank you. Did you start yet? No. Well, yeah, I'm live right now. So in case you hear any background noises, my family is home with me, but mostly they're a quiet crew. Family is home with me, but mostly they're a quiet crew. Thanks. So I hope everyone is warm and cozy on this chilly day. We've had such a great run of good weather. I think we're about to get some warmer weather again, but today we're chilly. Speaking of chilly, the Adams County Democratic Committee recently had a chilly event for signing petitions. So if you're with your local Democratic committee, get out there, sign petitions. And I believe the Franklin County Democratic Committee is also going to have a chili and petition signing event if they haven't already. So Cameron, feel free to weigh in there. Thanks for your comment, Cameron. Oh, that's fantastic news. Franklin County Democratic Committee had a chilly event with petition signing. About 50 attended. So well done, Franklin County. We need petitions signed for local candidates. We definitely want Democrats in local seats of power. Okay, well, it's 4 o'clock exactly, so I'm ready to start. I'm Beth Farnham, Democratic candidate for Pennsylvania's 13th Congressional District, and I thank you very much for coming to this town hall. I know a lot of people are busy on the weekend, so this is being recorded, and it will be uploaded to the YouTube channel we have called Unite PA 13. It is still for me as your candidate. But my vision is that eventually we are united. I do feel strongly that most people have our country's best interests at heart, especially the working classes, the families that we have, the communities that we have. But obviously, there's some issues at the top, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to try to understand what some of the issues are, as well as how we can counter them. And hopefully we can do this in a unifying message that brings us together and brings such a strong message that those who've been kind of tuning out as to what's happening with our government eventually tune in and work with us. So with that, I'm going to turn to my slideshow here, and let me put this up. There. Okay, so you have come to the town hall with Beth Farnham. And yeah, okay. And so I am your Democratic candidate for Pennsylvania's 13th Congressional District. In case you're not familiar with Pennsylvania's 13th Congressional District, it's one of the larger ones geographically, and it consists of over 10 counties plus pieces of 2 counties. So the counties involved in our congressional district are Adams, Franklin, Fulton, Bedford, Cambria, Blair, Huntingdon, Mifflin, Juniata, and Perry counties, the western edge of Cumberland County, and a northwestern corner of Somerset County. So, we're South Central Pennsylvania, and like me, many people who live here actually came from Maryland. So, not only do people are people originally from Maryland, there are still many people who live in these counties on the north of the Mason-Dixon line who work in Maryland. It's not unusual. So there's just a lot of community here. We have a lot in common. There's the Appalachian Mountains touch almost all the district, and so it's very mountainous. There's a lot of history here. Of course, we have Gettysburg, where one of the battles of the Civil War was fought, and we just keep growing as a community. What's really, really great, I don't know if you're aware, but in this past election, while the 13th Congressional District is historically the most conservative district, congressional district of Pennsylvania, the really interesting news was in this last election, November 2024, while so many more counties shifted to be more Republican, they voted more Republican, we had 5.5 out of the 13 counties in Pennsylvania that shifted more Democratic in their voting. So way to go, 13th Congressional District. We don't have to be all red or all blue. Frankly, we're shades of purple, but it was great to see it move towards a more balanced situation. So well done, 13th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. And you can find that at the Democrats' post on Reddit there. So I am sourcing my information, and I've linked it, and I will be linking this slideshow in the comments underneath this post. So I do want you to have this available to you. All right. So as I said, I've been your Democratic candidate, and I am refiled for the 2026 election. I am still operating on the same platforms. I believe in our precious democracy, our reproductive freedom, gun safety, public education, universal health care, and immigration reform. None of that has changed. I do believe that in a functioning democracy, our rights to vote and to have our votes be counted are sacred. We have agency over our own bodies. We use, store, and sell guns responsibly. Our children have access to quality instruction. Our healthcare needs are covered, and immigrants have clear paths to citizenship. So none of that has changed. I am pro-democracy, pro-choice, pro-PA 13, and you will continue to see that throughout the campaign. It was my pleasure, honor, and privilege to campaign this past year. I got to meet with many voters and talk about those very issues. I met with all of the Democratic committees. That was fantastic. I attended parades and had tents at festivals so that voters could learn more about the campaign. And so we were very busy, and I expect we will go back to that in 2026. So thank you for all the support you gave. So many of you supported my campaign. I absolutely appreciate it. Again, I am refiled for the 2026 election. And if you'd like to know more about my campaign, you're welcome to visit my website, bethfarnhamforcongress.com. That hasn't changed either. And in fact, the last post that I put on it was about running for office. So while I'm running for 2026, 2025 is more about local elections. So I am encouraging you to support candidates for local elections like school boards, township supervisors, county positions, just like you supported my campaign. Again, we need Democrats in local seats of power. But today we're here about some issues at the national level, and I am addressing them because, of course, our own representative, John Joyce, is not conducting town halls. He is not representing us, and so we have some topics to cover. He's not doing it for us. So I want to go over some of the tenets of the U.S. Constitution, because that's going to provide the depth of understanding of where we are in this new administration. I'm going to talk about the Department of Government Efficiency headed by Elon Musk. I'm going to refer to it as DOGE for short. I'm also going to speak about Pennsylvania's PA 13 statistics. I do apologize for my dog barking in the background. I'm going to go over some of the statistics and how some of the decisions at the top are directly impacting our 13th congressional district. And then we're going to wrap it up with a unified message, because I do believe that if we present in a unified voice strongly, then our conservative brothers and sisters who have not been voting our way, they will be turning, and they will need to know how to fight DOGE and what's been happening. So the first thing that we really need to address is the basis for all of our law, and that is the U.S. Constitution. But before we even dig into the law that governs us, we need to understand the spirit behind the Constitution. And you have to remember, when the Constitution was created by our revolutionary founders, they had done so after 10 years of hard-won experience through a document known as the Articles of Confederation, which basically said that the United States was governed by a legislative body. And it was in Philadelphia, if you remember that first Congress. But what they discovered during those 10 years is that they really did need an executive branch. They needed a centralized form of government, and they needed to kind of lay out some of why we wanted the U.S. Constitution. So the spirit behind the Constitution is extremely important. It sets the tones for the laws that we create, not only at the federal level, but our state and municipal laws are also rooted in the U.S. Constitution. So let's look at some of the spirit or the spirit behind the U.S. Constitution in terms of the preamble. And if you like, you can say it with me. It says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And you're welcome to go to the website I went to get that preamble. So as we go through what is happening in terms of the presidency, as well as in terms of Doge, I want you to keep in mind these values. Excuse me. Okay. All right. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that there are 3 co-equal branches of government. We have the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive. The legislative being members of Congress, both Senate and House of Representatives, the judiciary starting with the Supreme Court and all the lower courts, and the executive branch starting with the presidency and then the president's cabinet, etc. And so when the revolutionary founders created the U.S. Constitution, they decided that there would be these 3 co-equal branches of government. Now, let me be clear, legislative branch is first among equals. There's a lot of power in the legislative branch. And again, you have to remember, in the Articles of Confederation, this was the major form of government. So they never let go of that. So I want you to also keep that in mind. The power is really mostly in the legislative branch, but all of the branches can check each other. There are some checks and balances so that no branch is supposed to be just so super strong in relation to the other 2. Excuse me for the cough. All right. Okay. Now, for the President of the United States, I want you to also keep in mind the oath of office. When since we decided to be governed by the U.S. Constitution, we also demand of our leaders to swear fealty to the U.S. Constitution. It's not just that we agree to be governed by it, we expect our leaders to be faithful to it. And so here is the oath of office for the President of the United States. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter, so help me God. So that's the oath of office for the President of the United States, and for the leaders whom we elect directly. They are to swear, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Let me be clear. There is no responsibility for them. There is no title for them if they are not supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States. And notice that their support and defense is not that of a president, but of the Constitution itself. Again, this document is incredibly important. It is a government that we have all agreed to, on which we've based all our other government, and it comes from the bottom up, we the people, not the top down. So I just want you to keep these core pieces of information just in the back of your mind as we go through what's happening in our government today. So, excuse me, one of the things that the House of Representatives can do, and this is laid out in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5, is that the House of Representatives can impeach members of government. So more often we think of that in terms of the President of the United States. That is, in the House of Representatives, they can call forth the articles of impeachment and declare that they're going to basically hold a trial of the president or the vice president or other elected cabinet members, and decide. First, the House of Representatives kind of runs through what they're charging the person with, and then the Senate can decide ultimately if they're removing that person from office. Now, it is possible, and it's happened both to President Trump as well as President Clinton. They've been impeached but not voted out of office. So the House of Representatives have come forth with the articles of impeachment, laid out their issues with these people, and then the Senate chose not to vote them out of office. But I just want you to know that impeachment is the power under the House of Representatives. It's important to remember that particular responsibility to those members. All right, so where does President Trump fit in all this? Well, first, he is a convicted felon. He was convicted in May of 2024, and yet and still the American people did vote him into office. But you know what? The Constitution did not provide any barrier to that. So we understand that he was elected. I do not submit to any conspiracy theories that someone interfered with the election. Knowing where we live in Pennsylvania's 13th congressional district, there were a lot of neighbors who clearly were voting for Trump. So what we're looking at today are particularly his constitutional violations, because if anyone is going to find fault with him, it is the U.S. House of Representatives through the articles of impeachment. And so we have to make clear, how has he violated the Constitution? Remember, he swore an oath to defend it, to uphold and defend it. So we have to look at where he is breaking with his responsibility and his oath as President of the United States. So, and the other thing is, keep in mind, the revolutionary founders have the impeachment clause in Article 1 because they understood that it was possible a bad person could be voted into the presidency, or over time, a person who is president should be impeached and voted out of office. And that was a mark of brilliance on their part. It did not take political violence to remove an unfit president. It takes action by the U.S. Congress. So if Congress is to take action, Congress has to recognize that President Trump has indeed violated constitutional law. So number one, he wrote an executive order. Excuse me. Excuse me. He wrote an executive order denying birthright citizenship, which is already guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. It is already the law of the land that people who are born here are automatically granted U.S. citizenship. And we're going to dig into that a little bit more because of Republican attempts to justify his executive order. But his executive order is unconstitutional. The second thing he's done in violation of the Constitution is his executive order renaming the U.S. Digital Service Agency as the Department of Government Efficiency. And he did this reorganization without congressional approval, who only assigns that in limited terms. Only Congress can grant the U.S. president ability to reorganize a U.S. agency. But that didn't happen. He's trying to reach for it through executive order. That is unconstitutional. And we're going to dig into that a little bit more. And lastly, the impoundment of congressionally authorized funds. So impoundment is simply when the president says, I'm going to stop funding money that Congress has authorized, and I'm going to reapportion it somewhere, or I'm going to reapportion it. The president does not have this unilateral power to do either of these things, but we're going to talk about the definitions, etc. So, all right, here we go. That first violation, I wanted you to have the 14th Amendment, and it begins, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, what's happening is Republicans are trying to justify Trump's unconstitutional executive order, wherein he said, no, it's not that jurisdiction. He's making the argument, or they are too, that if a person was born somewhere else and came here and is undocumented, then they are not of the jurisdiction of the United States. But they're wrong. And I'll tell you why. There were exceptions to jurisdiction, but those are very clearly spelled out. Foreign sovereigns, ambassadors, and foreign armies. Let me explain. If King Charles of Great Britain or the United Kingdom was to come to the United States of America, he is not under the jurisdiction of the United States of America. We recognize him as a foreign sovereign. He is sovereign over his own nation, and we recognize that in the United States. Equally, ambassadors, they have special protections. Sometimes there are issues with that when they commit crimes or their children commit crimes, it's an issue. But mostly we say, okay, ambassadors, you're coming here, comporting yourselves under agreed upon norms of behavior. And if you break the law, there's some special considerations there. They are not under jurisdiction of the United States the way we citizens are. And lastly, of course, foreign armies, especially those who would invade us and try to take our land, we would not treat them like citizens with access to due process. So there are 3 exceptions. So what's happening is we have undocumented immigrants, and mostly they are not pouring over the border by way of the Rio Grande and just crossing the border. Mostly our undocumented immigrants got here legally originally. They got here by a correct visa with an American employer, and then what they did was overstayed their visa. So technically, they are not here in a legal capacity, but often American employers still hire them. And even though we call them undocumented, they usually have an individual taxpayer ID number, which means that they are paying taxes, federal, state, and local taxes. And of course, they pay sales taxes when they buy goods or services in the United States of America. So they are undocumented, but they are still under the jurisdiction of the United States. The Republicans who claim otherwise are flat out wrong. Okay. Then item number 2 of Trump's constitutional violations was the executive reorganizational authority that's only granted by Congress to the U.S. president, and usually for a specific purpose and a limited time. A U.S. president cannot simply reorganize the government as they see fit. It is only done through Congress. And if a president has a difference of opinion, if a president comes in with new ideas, there is an allowance for this, but it is spelled out in law. And this law was, let's see, did I have it here? Oh, sorry, I'm going too far. Okay. It is spelled out in law, and it has many whys and wherefores. We have President Obama and President Reagan as some of the most recent presidents asking to reorganize certain agencies and such. And actually, I believe they were denied. So it doesn't always get granted. In fact, a lot of times it doesn't get granted. But that's the way it happens. The U.S. president has to ask permission explicitly of the U.S. Congress before that happens. So what Trump did is my next slide. He invited in this person, Elon Musk, and he decided that the U.S. Digital Service Agency should be renamed the Department of Government Efficiency, and that he would put Elon Musk in charge of it. But now they're trying to claim Elon Musk is a personal advisor to the president of the United States. However, it is Elon Musk and his merry band of tech bros who have just basically gone into different agencies around the United States government to help themselves to classified information as well as sensitive information about people, about us citizens, and he is doing so with a lot of authority. I don't care that they're calling him a personal advisor to the U.S. president. He is going in and taking a lot of action. In addition to this, he certainly was not confirmed by the U.S. Senate, whereas the heads of many agencies of the United States government need to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. They don't just waltz in as friends of the U.S. president. Additionally, he's got all kinds of conflicts of interest because it is his Tesla company and his Starlink company that seems to be benefiting from $38 billion of government contracts. So you can read about these things for yourself. I've linked to the different sources, and you can see it in his actions. He is just taking over. So it's a huge problem that we're having at the top of our government. Okay, so what kinds of things have Elon Musk and his Doge brand of bros? That's right, Colin, he's a bad guy. What kinds of things have they perpetrated against the American people? And I've hyperlinked every single one of these, but I put up some of the logos to some of these American agencies so that you can get an idea, just the sense and scope of the damage he's doing to our U.S. government. So just starting in the top left, he fired personnel overseeing nuclear arsenal. This is how incompetent they are. They're not doing this in some kind of diligent and measured way to make sure the American people are safe and our nation is secure. They're just going in and firing people at will. And what's happening is that on the back end, every once in a while, someone says, maybe you shouldn't have fired those people. And then they scramble to get these people back, because they had no sense of the enormous responsibility that these government employees had to keep our American people safe and secure. So this happened with the nuclear arsenal. They fired them, then they scrambled to get them back. They are helping themselves to information that is classified. And if a government employee who's high enough up stands in their way, they work with whatever Senate confirmed secretary of that agency to have that person fired. So they accessed classified United States Agency for International Development information. We've got so many Americans trying to help starving people, sick people internationally. And part of the reason we do this as the American government is so that if we can help these tremendously vulnerable people stabilize, then they're not going to depend on any other foreign government and therefore strengthen that foreign government, especially those of our enemies. So it is important that we kind of be ambassadors of the world and of democracy. That's what we accomplished through the USAID. But Elon Musk found deep fault with it because they were one of the entities that really worked against the segregation, if you remember, in South Africa. So they worked to desegregate South Africa. And so Elon Musk has like a personal vendetta against this agency. Now, I won't go into such detail with all of them, but I'm just going to read some of them because the writing might be small for you. Doge, Elon Musk and his Doge group locked Office of Personnel and Management workers out of the computer system. So these are basically our government HR system, if you will. They Doge locked them out of their computers. At the Treasury, they were allowed in by the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and they accessed our Social Security numbers and account numbers. Now, someone made the point, oh, well, it's just read-only access. Well, if you can read, you can copy, and you can disseminate. So they're not in there actually changing information, but they have access to what the information is, our personal Social Security numbers. And what they do with it, I don't know. Now, there have been lawsuits and judges starting to get involved and try to stop the access, but really the access has already been taken. So it's important to understand they could just disseminate our personal information at will. And at this point, it seems there's no one stopping them. Elon Musk lied about transparency. He said it was maximally transparent. He lied. Information, he says, is on the website. It's not on the website. Information is inaccurate on the website. He says he's saving all these billions of dollars, and it has not been proven. In fact, he's lying by magnitudes, by orders of 10, and he's lying about how much money he saved the government. He doesn't correct his mistakes. It's really bad, and I've linked to that article. They released classified information from the NRO. They accessed Health and Human Services records. They removed the LGBTQ plus page from Department of Homeland Security as well as Veterans Affairs. They fired workers from the USDA who are fighting our bird flu. We have got diseases running rampant across the United States of America, and one of them is avian flu, which is affecting chickens and our eggs. So chickens are being culled, and egg prices, as you notice, have not gone down at all. In fact, they've gone up over time because this bird flu is just spreading. It's not just spreading among our domesticated chickens. It's also in wildlife, and it has also crossed over as a zoonotic disease to cows as well as cats, like cats who've caught those birds, and in a very few cases to humans. So just keep that in mind. They have also they've claimed to have terminated over 2,300 federal contracts. Again, these contracts were not made with Doge. How can they come in and destroy all these federal contracts? They fired over 1,300 CDC workers. So that was part of the 5,200 HHS employees. And they fired over 2,400 Veterans Affairs employees. Also, it's in supreme weirdness, Elon Musk led a press conference from the Oval Office wherein President Trump pretty much sat down, as you can see in the picture, and just let Elon Musk speak for his agenda. This is not how a president leads. If a president is going to have a press conference from the Oval Office, it should be done by the President of the United States. That is whom the American people elected into office. And then when President Trump recently had his first cabinet meeting, again, Elon Musk was kind of taking over this meeting and talking about what he was doing and how he was authorizing certain actions. So that is extremely weird and terrible. Now, I want to be clear. There is waste in the federal government. I'm not here to say that all federal government has been perfect up to this point. But if you're going to look for waste and try to root it out, then you use auditors general, many of whom have recently been fired. You use auditors, accountants, you use people who are very schooled in looking for waste, especially in specific types of government. You don't want a tech bro trying to understand what is and isn't medical waste. And in fact, of those the bird flu workers who were fired, they scrambled again on the back end to bring them back because they incompetently fired them. So they never should have been fired in the first place. But Doge does not have the competency to recognize that. So yes, I believe that there is waste and fraud in the government, but A, it's not to the extent that he's claiming, and B, if you are going to look for it, you're going to do so in a competent and detailed way, as opposed to the way they're doing it right now. Okay, so part of this is because Trump put out an executive order to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion advocacy. And one of the very stupid ways they've been going about this is saying, well, we're going to freeze all contracts that mention women or the color black, or African. So they've gone about it in a very ham-fisted way, and you have to ask yourself, why are they doing that? Listen to all the departments and agencies that they've frozen the federal funding for. We're talking 2,600 programs under the departments of Agriculture, Labor, Justice, the State, Interior, Commerce, Defense, Treasury, Energy, Transportation, Education, Health and Human Services, Veterans Affairs, Environmental Protection Agency, Small Business Administration, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, Social Security Administration, U.S. Agency for International Development, Department of Homeland Security, Federal Communications Commissions, Government Services Administration, Library of Congress, and many others. Now they're being challenged in courts here and there, and supposedly this executive order was rescinded, but the agencies affected, there are a lot of people in these programs who are saying, hey, that money isn't there like it was supposed to be. It's as if the executive order to deny them the funding was still in effect. And if you're wondering about what are the 2,600 programs, I actually have linked them here. It's from the New York Times. And let me see if I can change my presentation here so that you can see that screen as well. It's just going to take me a moment here. Appreciate your patience. Yeah, let's go to that article real quick. Okay, so New York Times asked which federal programs are under scrutiny. The budget office named 2,600 of them. So again, update, they were supposed to have rescinded the previous order, pausing the grant and loan programs, but there are a myriad of complaints saying, hey, we didn't get our money for these programs. And so they highlighted some very serious ones in yellow, just some of the bigger ones that you would say, oh my gosh, they're not getting their money? So for example, the rural rental assistance payments, $1.6 billion. But there are bigger ones than that. Here we go. Really big. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's SNAP. These are the food benefits that people in poverty have access to. Perhaps long ago, you remember it as welfare or green stamps, food stamps. This is that. And so it's $94.3 billion. And so they're saying that it's not paused anymore, but there never should have been any semblance of a pause in the first place. No, poor people in America should not have their food benefits cut off. Why on earth would we accept starving people in America? That just sets up our country for failure and misery. And, this is a land of opportunity. And again, if we go back to that preamble of the U.S. Constitution, we are supposed to be promoting the general welfare. So SNAP is an example of promoting the general welfare. SNAP is right aligned with the preamble of the U.S. Constitution. So taking it away is unconstitutional, especially in the way it's being done. Here's another one, WIC. Women, Infants, and Children program. Again, it's about nutritional assistance, especially like formula for babies, and yet the Republicans are supposed to be the party that cares about children. Well, living, breathing children need nutrition, and WIC not only supplies for them, but their pregnant mothers. So it's very contrary, not only to the constitutional values, but, purported Republican values as well. So there are many, many others, and I would encourage you to go through this. I would encourage you to go through that newspaper article. It's really good. I'm going to go back to the town hall. There we go. Okay. All right. And so then we'll go to the next one. Okay. And so how do I know that Trump should not be helping himself to apportioning or Doge under Trump should not be apportioning money here or there or getting their paws in it at all? Because the Constitution tells us, Article 1, Section 7, Clause 1, All bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. And then, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. U.S. Constitution, Article 1. Again, this is with the legislative branch. The legislative branch controls the purse of the United States of America. It is not for the president to just create some agency to then, decide to turn on or off money. So this is incredibly unconstitutional. And what Trump is doing through DOGE is called impoundment. And it's happened before where presidents have tried to control the purse strings and kind of walked in there and said, you know what, I think we should change this money here and that money there. So Nixon was one of those. And so the Impoundment Control Act of 1974 was created. Since it's very clear by the U.S. Constitution that Congress controls the purse strings, then the Impoundment Control Act of 1974 was to basically give the president permission to ask to change some things, and all the whys and wherefores under which the president can do so. So it's very constrained. So it's very clear it's not by executive order. And so these are just some of the tedious details. On or before November 10th of each year, beginning with 1975, the president shall submit to the Senate and the House of Representatives the estimated outlays and proposed budget authority, which would be included in the budget to be submitted pursuant to Section 201 of the Budget and Accounting Act 1921 for the ensuing fiscal year, if all programs and activities were carried on such ensuing fiscal year at some level as the fiscal year in progress and without policy changes in such programs and activities. The estimated outlays and proposed budget authority submitted pursuant to this section shall be shown by function and subfunctions in accordance with the classifications in the budget summary table entitled Budget Authority and Outlays by Function and Agency by major programs within each such function and by agency. So it's very detailed. It's very specific. So the point is, it's not by executive order. It has to be under these very strict conditions. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. So this is it in simpler form. Once Congress has appropriated funds, that means they declared the budget for the year and said, we're going to give this taxpayer money here, and we're going to give this taxpayer money there. The president may not unilaterally freeze or redirect those funds. That is not a power that the U.S. president has. Therefore, Trump's impoundment, his idea of I'm going to take this money and move it here or there, of congressionally appropriated funds is unconstitutional. All right, so I'm going to shift gears just a little bit because we have to talk about the people who've been making some of these, who have the power, who are in the legislative branch, the U.S. House of Representatives for Pennsylvania. I took this from Pennsylvania's GOP page. So who are they? These are the Republican representatives, congressional representatives. I've circled in red for PA 13. We have John Joyce. So I just want you to keep in mind, these are all the people who've been going along supporting Trump's agenda and basically haven't been checking it or questioning it at all. All right, who is John Joyce? He is a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee. He's been serving since 2019. He voted with other Republican U.S. House representatives to direct the Energy and Commerce Committee to slash $880 billion in healthcare from the federal budget. And he's doing this as a licensed dermatologist. He is someone in healthcare who repeatedly states how much he cares about healthcare. And yet here he is as a U.S. representative going along with the idea that the United States will indiscriminately slash $880 billion from U.S. healthcare. And you can find that at the clerk of the United States House of Representatives, roll call 50, bill number H-Con Resolution 14. It had 217 yays to slash this money in support of this budget that slashed $880 billion and 215 nays. You can bet this was along party lines. Our U.S. House of Representatives is actually majority-controlled Republican, but by one of the slimmest margins. It's by 3 seats. There are actually, I believe, 3 upcoming special elections where we hope that Democrats would be elected so that budgets like this would not be approved. So if you can support those U.S. representatives, the Democrats, that would be a step in the right direction. That would be a big help because if we can win the U.S. House of Representatives, then this agenda does not go forward. Excuse me. Now, it's important to understand $880 billion is money that's been apportioned to Medicaid, SNAP, WIC, other types of programs. But I'm going to focus on these programs and how they are affecting Pennsylvania's 13th Congressional District. And so I went to the Pennsylvania government website and asked about the number of recipients for each county. And so I was given this information, Adams 16,181, and you can see right on down the line. Now, Cumberland County has 45,205 recipients of Medicaid. That does not mean they're all in the 13th Congressional District. Remember, we only had the Western Edge, so I don't know exactly what number. I'm going to guess it's probably around 20,000, 15 to 20,000 of the 45,000, but I'm not confident of that. Somerset would have even fewer. We only have about 1,000 voters in the territory of Somerset for Pennsylvania's 13th Congressional District, but I think you could guesstimate, some portion. So we're talking for the district. I was given a total for the district, which does include the small part of Somerset and the western part of Cumberland. The cumulative number is 166,191 recipients. There are also recipients for expanded Medicare, Medicaid. I think it was about 37,000. So we're talking about 200,000 recipients of Medicaid, whether directly or through, I think, the Affordable Care Act. And you can see that the bigger percentages in our district are in Fulton, Bedford, Somerset, Cambria, Blair, Huntingdon, and Mifflin counties, and then only 11 to 20% enrollment in Adams, Franklin, Cumberland, Perry, and Juniata counties. So you can get an idea of just, the enrollment. But there are a lot of Pennsylvania residents who are enrolled in Medicaid. And so slashing $880 billion would directly impact hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians, if not millions. In Pennsylvania's 13th Congressional District, we also have the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and you can see the county numbers on the right. For example, Adams County has 9,159 recipients. Now, I got my information from 2 different places. So I got county numbers of recipients. Again, Cumberland will probably be about half that or less than half, and Somerset would only be a small fraction. We have at least 109,871 individual recipients of SNAP. Remember, this is the food benefits, basically. And, if we want to look at it a different way, 47,296 households in the 13th Congressional District. And I want to make the point, 84% of them are white. You have a lot of, we'll just say it, racist people who voted for Trump and his racist agenda. And, some of their points were, we don't like government, and they keep giving it to lots of people who don't deserve it. And in their minds, they've decided that people who look different from them don't deserve these benefits. But I'm here to tell you, in the 13th Congressional District, the majority of people having the benefits are white. So please keep that in mind. And then there's WIC, the Women, Infants, and Children program. It's going to be smaller, but recipients, Adams County, for example, 1,243. Biggest number there looks like Blair County. Blair County at 2,222. I'm sorry, Franklin. Franklin, you are in the lead for WIC, 2,736. Cumberland would only be about half that, and Somerset, again, a small fraction. So these are people who would directly be impacted should the Medicaid and some other programs be eliminated from the budget or severely curtailed. And then I just wanted to, note the estimated federal civilian workforce in Pennsylvania's 13th congressional district, as estimated for 2023. That was the latest number I could find. Was 10,162 people. So think about that. Across our 13th congressional district, we're talking 10 full counties, and several of them are on that Mason-Dixon line, and a bunch of people commute to Maryland and may even commute to Washington, D.C. 2.81% of our workforce are working for the federal government. So every time Elon Musk is bragging about cutting jobs, he may very well be impacting our federal civilian workforce in the 13th congressional district. That's 2.81% of our workforce in our district. It's horrendous. Okay, now, a lot of people, it's okay if you disagree with me on this part, but I am here to say they're not just working against the Constitution. These Republicans who aren't checking President Trump and his overreach of power, or Elon Musk not stopping them. I am here to say that they seem to be working towards something. And that something I see is Nazism. Because if it talks like Nazism and salutes like Nazism, to me, that's Nazism. And I went to the Britannica.com website just to double check, what are some core tenets of Nazism? And it aligns with all of these programs that they're breaking, that are, they're rejecting liberalism, democracy, the rule of law, and human rights. So every time they're cutting away these vital programs and freedoms of people, it is exactly aligned with Nazism. They stress the subordination of the individual to the state and necessity of strict obedience to leaders. They keep talking about people's loyalty to Trump. It's absolutely disgusting. They emphasize the inequality of individuals and races and the right of strong to rule the weak. Think about how often they're trying to present Trump as this strong man. Frankly, he's incredibly weak. We know him as a 5-time draft dodger, just as a quick example. But they're saying that members of the LGBTQ plus community are not equal and do not have equal rights. They're saying that women don't have agency over our own bodies. They are trying to disenfranchise women through the SAVE Act. That's another thing. I can't even get into it right now. They are also trying to take away the rights of immigrants, even though they're here as undocumented. They are trying to take away the rights of these individuals, yet they are under the jurisdiction of the United States, and they're trying to claim, no, they're not. So they're always trying to divide and assert inequalities. And they favor territorial expansion. And I know that seems kind of weird, but all the talk about invading Greenland, making Canada 51st state, taking back Panama, the Panama Canal, that's aligned with Nazism too. You might just say, no, that's just regular fascism. I'm going to say it's Nazism. Look at the salutes of Musk and Bannon. They are out there performing Nazi salutes. And I'm here to tell you, if you have one Nazi in your political party and you do not disavow that saluting left, right, and sideways, you have a Nazi party. So it is very clear to me they are headed to Nazism, and I refuse to accept that. So what can we do? What is a one unifying message that we can give through Pennsylvania's 13th congressional district, and what can other residents of other congressional districts say? And so, I am talking about these Pennsylvania U.S. representatives who are Republicans. They are betraying their oaths to the U.S. Constitution. Frankly, they don't even deserve the title of representative. And I don't see the point in observing norms of calling them representative and this and that when they are not acting, if they are not fulfilling their duty, their oaths to defend and uphold the U.S. Constitution, they are letting President Trump trample all over the Constitution with Elon Musk and Doge and some other things. And so I am here to say that our one message to these people is stop Musk and impeach Trump or resign. If our grassroots groups can coalesce around the same message again and again and again, it is possible that the conservative brothers and sisters who heretofore have voted for Trump and the Republican Party, but are directly and negatively impacted by whatever Doge is doing, as well as the inactivity of the Republicans, as well as them slashing $880 billion of healthcare money, then they might hear this message and join us. I believe that this is the unifying message that we can give. And I feel very strongly about this. And, I would direct it to Nazi Joyce. I don't need to call him Representative Joyce. He does not represent me. He is supposed to work for us. And instead, he is just acting in fealty to the convicted felon and President Trump and his trampling of the Constitution. So if you are not going to uphold your oath of office, you don't deserve the title. I feel very strongly about this. So I feel that we could come together as grassroots groups to keep telling these U.S. representatives who have the power, they have the power to stop Musk and impeach Trump, or they should resign. So that is the unifying message that I'm saying here. If you like what I have to say, if you like this presentation, please donate to my campaign. So that's what's going on there. And I'm going to come back to you. Okay. So all right. So we're going to open up now. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them for you. Thank you, Holly Shuren. I say hi back. I can see some comments and everything. Just going through. Thanks, Janet. Good to see you. So please, come at me with your questions. Cameron Troy, again, campaign manager. So he can send them to me as well. I'd love to hear from you. What are you directly impacted by? What are you worried about? Please share with me what's on your mind. Hi, Sherry. Good to hear from you. If you have, any concerns, if there's a question I can answer, please don't hesitate to ask it. If you want to, share with the group, what's really impacting you or what you're most concerned about, I'd be glad to hear it. Hi, Karen. Great to see you. Boy, I was talking there for almost an hour. I didn't realize. Okay, well, maybe you don't have any questions, and that's okay too. So I'll just hang out here for just another minute or two, but I really appreciate you guys coming in. David, good to hear from you. Your biggest issue is election reform. What are your stances on open primaries, independent redistricting commissions, and 3, ranked choice voting? Ranked choice voting is very interesting. I'm intrigued by it. I don't know where it's in play, where it can work. When it comes to independent redistricting commissions, I know I'm a fan of Fair Districts PA. I appreciate the work that they did, and I think that our congressional districts, were better redistricted the last time. What are your stances on open primaries? Boy, I know, on one hand, I think it's a great idea because, vote for who you want, who you think is important. But then on the other hand, I want the Democrats to pick the best Democrat, and I want the Republicans to pick the best Republican. I think it's unfortunate then anyone who's not of those two parties gets the shaft, and that does seem contrary to the spirit of American voting. So, maybe we could explore open primaries, but I do understand. Sherry, I appreciate your question. When is your next town hall? This one came about because it spiraled into something so big. And I realized that there was no one, there's no one presentation that necessarily wraps it up. I could shoot for another one in a month, but earlier if events overtake us. So, why don't we shoot for the beginning of April then? Maybe not the 1st of April, but I'll look for a weekend date, the first weekend in April, 4:00, same kind of idea. So you're welcome, Shelley. Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, I'm going to leave this slideshow in the comments. So you're welcome to share it with anyone. I'll also post it. I'll also post the video as well as the slideshow itself to my Facebook page, so that you have that. And if you can share it, that would be terrific, because I think it's just been so hard to kind of focus on what is happening, who is doing it, and how can we counter it. But again, I strongly believe that our biggest counter to what is going on is to influence our representatives. These Nazis need to find their spines, stop Elon Musk, and impeach Trump. And they have the power to do it. So, all right. So looks like that's about it for comments, concerns. So again, I thank you very much for participating. And if there's any question, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm still at my email, bethfarnhamforcongress@gmail.com. So you can reach me directly there. So again, thank you very much for everything. And I'll inform you when the next town hall, but we're looking at the first weekend of April. Thanks again. Bye.